Good morning. Good morning. It's one of those beautiful Monday mornings. It's 2:34 a.m. and I always believe that Monday and Fridays are the best days to get an early start on it because it sets the tempo. Monday coming into the week, Friday going into the weekend. So you want to leave on a high note, you want to start on a high note, and then you want to compress that time by. That's just the way I think. That's my thoughts. Might not work for you. I don't know. I also like to get a midweek refresher in there where for me, it's going to church, or mid-month refresher where it might be a little mini micro vacation without leaving your home. So I'm gonna share with you two things today that really just resonated with me over the last couple of minutes. And you would think that I'm setting up what I have to say, weeks or days or hours in advance, and I'm scripting this and writing it down. Now literally, I have to admit, I am guided and instructed by a spirit, plain and simple, that is giving me things that I could talk about that could help somebody. And one is this weekend, I would say Sunday, I got into an argument. It wasn't a big argument, but it was one that could have went left. It was one where things were on the verge of being said that it wasn't necessarily going to turn out right. And there was certain feelings attached to it that was kind of looking, where you cock your head to the left and be like, who do you think you are? And I got to tell you something, that I couldn't get the conversation or the argument under control fast enough to stop that head from tilting to the left and that eye kind of shutting on you and getting that look. But after it was all said and done and it had played out, and I had a moment to sit back and think and say to myself, isn't it funny that when things are going good, you'll find the most stupidest reason to start a fight. The most stupidest reasons to get in an argument. I'm going to have you consider something on these two different points, but the same points, because they're all relevant to how you live a productive, good life. And whether you listen to it or not it's not, I don't really care. I say I don't care because most people won't listen to what I'm saying anyways, and then half of one person may take half of the advice that I'm giving, and they might get half the results, and then maybe later on they'll put the other half with it, and they'll start getting the full effect of things. But I'd have you consider something, that isn't it funny that when things can be going perfectly well in your life, you'll do something to interrupt it. I watched The Godfather before I went to sleep. I know, kind of crazy. I watched The Godfather before I went to sleep, and I noticed something that Mario Puzo, who is the director and the creator of The Godfather, had interjected into the movie that I had never really seen before. And it was a clip when Michael was standing in the den of his old house where his father used to work from, and he was talking to Clemenza about somebody shooting up his house, and he confided in Clemenza that there was a situation that he needed Clemenza to help him with, because he was going to seek his vengeance back on the person who had shot his home up. And Clemenza had went to saying, I got you, let's do this, this, and that. And Michael knew that that wasn't the right thing to do. So instead of correcting him, he did a pattern interrupt and started talking about how much he enjoyed the fact that Clemenza was the one that lived in his home that his father used to live in, and how he used to play right outside the door quietly while his father would work in his study. And then after he pattern interrupt Clemenza's rampage, he went back to explaining to him exactly what was going to take place and how it was going to take place. Sometimes you have to pattern interrupt some of those negative thoughts or vibes or negative things that are coming at you in order to get everything back on track. You have to pattern interrupt by simply stopping what's going on. And that's what happened Sunday, is that there was something going on and I didn't create a pattern interrupt. I mean, I didn't stop the situation from happening, but I had to come back to my senses later on and say, hold on, there's not a problem. Everything's going good. Why is there an issue? Well, because you get to a certain point in your life where things are happy. You don't feel like you deserve to be this happy, so you want to kill that vibe a little bit. You do. I don't remember what book I read that in, but they were able to break it down. I believe it wasn't called The Upper Limit, but you'll do something to self-destruct, because too happy makes you unhappy. Ain't that funny? You thought you wanted happy, you got happy, and then too much happy made you unhappy. Absolutely amazing. The second thing that I'm going to share with you, so the first thing is to make sure that you do a pattern interrupt when you start feeling yourself starting to literally find yourself coming unglued under a situation that's fairly simple in times when things are going fairly good, to pull yourself back in and check yourself. The second thing I'm going to suggest is, and this is just an advisory, it's now 2:41 a.m. I am 10 minutes ahead of getting to where I got to go any other day of the week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm 10 minutes faster. I'm excited about being 10 minutes faster. I'm excited about being out the door. I'm excited about doing this video. I'd have you consider something. Most people have been on their job 10, 15 years. I don't know if you're happy. I don't know if you're content. I don't know if you just are going through the motions, meaning it wouldn't matter what was going on. Your body has been conditioned and trained to just wake up, whatever your morning ritual is, do that, put a cup of coffee in your hand, and somehow end up in the car. Next thing you know, you end up at the job. Next thing you know, you're saying hi to the coworker that you always say hi to. Next thing you know, you're opening up and setting up and you're doing everything how you naturally do it every single morning. I would have you consider taking that same mentality of routine and ritual and simply apply it towards something else that you like. Obviously, you're not going to like the routine and the ritual. I did not like getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I think the original time I started getting up was 2. Now I'm 1:45 sharp every morning. I'd have you consider that you're not going to like it, but if it improves or does something to the quality of your life, then why not implement it in your life the same way you do your job? See, I had a conversation with Malachi, and it had everything to do with taking out the garbage, because I would notice that he would be at home, he would leave, and I would go to throw something away and the garbage would be full, and I'd be like, where's the garbage man? See, he's the garbage man. You ain't got no other job, so that's your title in the house. I'm the bill man, I'm the dishes man, I'm the laundry man, I'm the kid man, I'm the clothes man, I'm the finance man, I'm the go-to man, I am, all these things. You just the garbage man. So I expect you to do your job really well, considering you ain't got a whole lot of hats to wear. So I come to him and I say, hey, listen, I said, let me point out two really important things about life, just in case you may have missed it with me. Let me be very vocal and let you know what they are. One is 99% of women are going to be hoes. That's fine with me. 1% is going to care about how you treat your mother, because that 1% wants to be treated just the same way. So if you treat your mom well, you'll attract the right type of woman. I don't know what that had to do with garbage, but I threw it out there. It sounded like a good time. He's a young man. This is things he's going through. That will help him in life. So I give him that little nugget. Second nugget that I feed him with is, hey, listen, let me explain something to you. You got a job right now. Before you leave your work, is there anything that you have to do regarding your job to prepare for your departure? He says, well, yeah, he happens to work at a grocery store, so he works at a register. So I kind of know what the routine is, but I want to go through this process and the steps with them. And I say, listen, he says, well, my routine is this. I have to empty out my register, make sure that my drawer matches up with my receipts, etc., etc., etc. I said, okay, good. Now, I think he knows the point I'm getting at. I said, well, that's good. I said, what happens if you don't do that? Obviously, they've instructed you to do this before you leave. They consider that a pre-ritual, a pre-leave ritual. He says, well, they give you a warning. So now I'm looking at him like, okay, so now we're gonna play the 3 strikes out game. All right, so they give you a warning. So after they give you your first warning, then what happens? Well, they give you a second warning. All right, so now I got to play this game with him. So I was like, okay, at what point will you get fired? Well, after 3 times. I said, are you gonna make it 3 times for them to tell you? Because I mean, quite frankly, if you're working somewhere, I'd be a little bit embarrassed if my boss kept coming up to me telling me about the same mistake I'm making. So he's like catching on, like, oh, okay, yeah. I said, well, so let me ask you this quick question. I said, if how you treat your mother is indicative of the type of woman that you're going to have, then wouldn't you think that treating your mother right now is going to be kind of your sounding board for the rest of the relationships that you're going to have? Treat your mom good, treat the woman you're with good. That sounds like a pretty good combination to me. And so, yeah. I said, so let me ask you something. I said, if your house is where you live at, and that's your number one priority, meaning you go to work to make sure that you can take care of your house, I said, how does it look you going to work, putting in extra effort to make sure that you have done all the right things to make sure that your exit from work is good, but yet you are at home and you're not compelled whatsoever to do what's necessary before you leave here the same way you do at work? I said, explain that to me. I said, is it because there's a threat of losing your job that you do it? And there's no threat of losing your job here? Let me explain something to you. The person who is able to do the thing that they don't want to do that has really no consequence attached to it, that is the person who's building character. Anybody could be threatened to do something. I can threaten you to do something. Anybody could be threatened to do something. It takes a real stand-up individual to just do the right thing and be able to order or prioritize what's going on. So let's get this straight. How many times have you been at work and not counted your drawer and had to have your boss come back and tell you? Because I think you've been happily employed there for a little bit of time. He says, well, never. I said, so since they told you that this was something that was a part of your job, you immediately knew it wasn't something you needed to be told over and over again. So I advise you this. You have one duty and one responsibility here. That is simply to take out the garbage and make sure that it's done before you leave the house. That way, you treat it just like your job, except this is your home. This is where you live at. I say all that to simply say is this. If you start taking some of the things that you do because you're forced to do it, I mean, I got this ritual, I created this ritual, for the simple fact that I need to make it to this job that I either do or do not like. But the likeliness that I'll get fired is there if I don't show up. So therefore, let me put this pattern of habits in place so that way I know I will show up and there'll be no excuses. Well, why not take those same patterns of habits and put them in place for something else? You're not going to like it initially. I didn't like getting up at 2 in the morning. I didn't like showing up to the gym, but now I'm excited. I'm like, what I can go in there and what I can work on, what I can develop, what I can create. Because the way I start my day pretty much dictates the way that my day is going to go. So if I started out on a good foot, guess what? It's going to end on a good foot. Those are just two different things that came to my mind just now. Is that one, stop doing things that are going to make yourself, stop creating problems and fights when they're not necessary, when life is treating you good. When life is going good for you, stop trying to create chaos in there. Stop trying to make bad decisions with your finances, with your health, with your loved ones. Stop doing that. But then again, I'm still talking to nobody because probably nobody's going to watch this video. One. Two is most people aren't going to listen. Nobody likes to be talked to like that. Nobody likes to be told what to do, even if it's for the best of them. I love what my pastor says. He says a verse out the Bible. I know not that verse that, but he says, "Have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth?" You have to start implementing those same patterns and routines into something that's going to benefit you. Being on task and on the job all the time, that's all good. That's fine. Everybody's got to have a job. Everybody's got to have source of income. But why your job getting more priority than yourself? Why have you developed this habit that allows you to get up and run through the same routine of habit to get you to the job, to get you through the day? But that same mental thinking hasn't gotten you through anything else. You won't apply it towards anything else. It's almost like you got to have the threat of a fire being attached to you in order for that. I remember Mike Ferry, one of the top premier sales training coaches and for real estate. I remember him saying that most agents, if they had a threat of losing their real estate license, would be able to generate business every single day. So if they said, hey, listen, if you didn't generate a deal today, you're going to lose your license. If there was a threat of that, then they will more likely generate more business. But because there's no threat and it's at their luxury and their leisure, then they feel that there's nothing at risk. And I'd have you start thinking and putting yourself in a risky thought or a risky situation. That way you might find that motivation and that fire that you've been looking for to push you through and propel you through the places that you want to be at. Because if not, being at a job and letting it dictate the speed of your day and not taking care of your personal self, that's just no good. And that to me, that's a life lived in vain. That's a horrible life. That's horrible. I feel more influence from my boss to get things done than I do to myself to get myself in shape. You can't tell me that health isn't a priority when you're getting out the bed and you're not even that old and you making all types of grunts and noises. But at the end of the day, you have a decision to make. You can do it my way, or you can do it the way where you feel like there's a threat. My way, I wake up and I still feel, hey man, I'm making the decision. And now I feel comfortable that as long as I'm making the decisions, I'm all right with that. I much rather to make the decisions in this short life than let my life be dictated by somebody else making a decision on me. See, I've been to prison, so I understand that is not the situation you want to be in. It's the exact opposite. Stay blessed. Take care.